Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our program, Medicine of the Prophet, your guide to healthy living. This is episode 7 of potentially 20 episodes. In today's program, we'll be looking at lifestyle factors and how the person and the effect of the environment and the interaction between the person and the environment and what its effect has on the person's health. With me in the studio is Professor Rashid Bhika, and our guest today is Dr. John Glynn. Welcome, Dr. John Glynn.
Thank you.
The questions that this episode will be raising include what is the relationship between the person and the environment from an Islamic and scientific perspective? And how is this relevant to health in Tib al-Nabawi? And also, how can we source the Hippocratic principles of PEPSIS, which deals with digestion and elimination of the environment? More about that later. We'll also unpack the concept of what we mean by the environment within the scope of lifestyle factors, which, as you know, if managed correctly, leads to good health, and if not, then illness or disease. Let me draw in Professor Rashid Bhika and ask Professor Bhika, what is the meaning of environment?
Jazakallah Farooq. Assalamu alaikum, viewers. Within the context of Tib al-Nabawi, the environment is the world within which we live. And we start off with the entire universe, the planets. We talk about our world specifically. We talk about the mountain and the seas. We talk about insects. We talk about the vegetation. We talk about animals. And ultimately, we talk about the human being. Again, from a purely Islamic point of view, let's look at the concept of creation within two aspects. One aspect being the perfection of creation, and the second aspect being the interdependency of all of creation. I want to quote a verse from the Quran which states, "Glorify the name of your guardian Lord, Most High, who has created and further given order and proportion, who has ordained laws and granted guidance." Now this Quranic verse tells us, first of all, that Allah Ta'ala has created everything in perfection, in order and proportion. In other words, if you think about every type of creation, from animals to birds to the human being, talk about birds. Birds are given wings to fly. The fish in the sea have got fins and a tail. Like this, every creation, be it from the sea, be it from the land, be it from plants, every creation has got a certain form, what we call a structure. At the same time, from the tip point of view, we spoke about temperament. It's got a certain temperament, and most importantly, temperament structured to perform a certain function. So every creation is perfect. If you take our body for example, our hands, our eyes, I mean, we can focus on all of this and go on and just describe the perfection of creation. Secondly, when we talk about the interdependency, I'll give you a very simple example. The air we breathe is linked to us and linked to all life forms. We, as human beings, breathe in oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. Plants obviously take in the carbon dioxide and they revert and they give us back to oxygen. So there's this interrelationship between every living creature or every living creation. And this is what obviously creates harmony and balance. I will read to you another quotation which sums up what I've said. Quotation by Harun Yahya. He says, "If we examine any corner of the universe, from the galaxies in space to the living beings in nature, and from our own body to the invisible cells, we see a flawless plan incorporating order, design, and purpose. This order, design, and purpose illustrates the perfection of creation." So ultimately, Allah Ta'ala has created everything in perfection, and everything in this universe, in this world, in this environment we are, has got this interdependency.
Wonderful. Dr. John Glynn, let me draw you in and it looks as if Professor Bhika's focus was on the co-dependency, the interrelationship between the created and the creator, and the rules that govern the creation. He has highlighted the perfection of creation and the interrelationship and interdependency. From your point of view, perhaps you might want to unpack it from a scientific perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Farouk, the history of medicine through the ages is a most fascinating subject, especially on theories about the origin of diseases. Until about 2,000, 3,000 years ago, what we had was causes put down to superstition or to witchcraft or to magic. Then we have Hippocrates and other thinkers and their schools of thought coming along with what was then the ecology theory, what we now know as the ecology theory.
What does that mean?
Ecology is a simple concept in that what it refers to is it refers to the outside of the person.
The environment.
Exactly. In this case, it referred to three things. First of all, we've got the person himself, who's central, of course. We've got aspects of him such as temperament, such as his genetic makeup, such as previous behavior, etc., experiences. The second aspect is the environment itself. Rashid here has referred to some aspects of that. From the scientific side, this would include the nature of the environment. It would also include the social environment, allergies, external stress, etc. And finally, which is probably the most relevant aspect from our perspective, is the behavior. How the person behaves, his lifestyle, his habit, his hobbies, his experiences, etc.
And that would include choices that the person makes and its
Indeed.
impact.
And what Hippocrates effectively said, he said that the body has an inner tendency to self-healing. The doctor is not the healer. The true healer is nature. Nature is the physician of disease.
Nature as seen in the concept of God and the spirit,
Yes, indeed.
and the sense of divinity.
Indeed, yeah. And what he pinpointed very accurately was that the relationship between the healer and the person, the patient in this case, is of prime importance. Another aspect of this, which he was very much in favour of, was the mind-body relationship, which he saw as a unitary or a single idea and was of great value in diagnosis and treatment. Now, this theory persisted, it carried on until about the 19th century. Then along came Pasteur and others of the same school of thought, and they came up with the germ theory, also called the specific cause theory, or to be highly technical, the specific etiology theory.
It's a very posh word that you might want to unpack that.
Posh word, but simple concept. This concept was one disease, one microbe. Because by now they had the ways of detecting and measuring the various microbes which were being discovered through modern technology.
One microbe.
Indeed, one disease, one microbe. Every different disease had a different microbe, and the cure of diseases was based on eradication, wipeout of the microbe. And now this theory gained prominence, of course, because of the scientific advances, chemical synthesis for the various drugs, for specific receptor theories, for a whole range of new technologies which supported this. And this became dominant. Ecology became second rate, became last century. It didn't persist. Now there's a major change. There's now a different focus of emphasis, because as we learn more and more about these diseases, what we're finding is there is a lot more to disease and health than a simple single cause. We now know, for example, that the mind-body relationship is as strong as it was perceived in the old days. We know that the universe is all interconnected. We know that from science and from new advances in astronomy, that everything in the universe is interconnected. And what we find is that modern medicine has also lost sight of the fact that the person or the patient is more important than the disease in terms of treatment and prevention of further diseases.
Well, that's a very powerful note on which to tie up this segment, that the person is the most important issue or the focus in treating of any disease.
He is central, or she is central to the restoration and maintenance of optimum health in the patient, yes.
Well said, Dr. John Glynn. It's time for us to tie up this portion of our episode, and we'll be back immediately after the break. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Medicine of the Prophet, your guide to healthy living. This is episode 7 of potentially 20 episodes. And in this segment, we'll be looking at our understanding of the relationship between the environment and the individual, and how does this impact on the health and well-being of the individual. To help us understand this better, we will ask Dr. John Glynn to unpack this for us a bit.
Farouk, let me start with a quotation from the father of medicine, that is Hippocrates. He said, "In common with all living beings, we grow at the expense of the environment. We take what we need to survive, such as air, food, and sunlight, and reject what is unnecessary or harmful, such as toxins in the food. Our body waste is also involved in this, and negative emotions. It is the effective digestion, assimilation, and elimination of these qualities of the environment that predicts good health, and if not, leads to disease. This relationship is known as pepsis." Now, just to remind you about the ecology theory, health is the result of harmony between the three components we talked about, and disease occurs when this harmony is disturbed. Now, from a personal point of view, for component, this harmony can be disturbed when we've got injury or infection or some genetic abnormality starts to express. From the environment, it could be due to airborne pollutants, radiation, it could be due to food additives, and to climate features. And from the lifestyle, it could be due to a whole range of behaviors, such as a poor diet, poor breathing technique, lack of physical exercise, inadequate sleep, and failure to eliminate toxins. Now, the main lifestyle factors, which we're going to cover obviously in episodes to come, are the food and drink, which is a very important one, as everyone knows. Air and breathing, which is not done properly by most of the population for various reasons. Exercise for the body, which is now being seen as essential to maintain good health. Sleep hygiene, which we now see that if you sleep badly, then this has a cumulative effect on your health, and important effect. Emotional state, which is now getting more recognition as a major input into disorders of the body. Elimination of toxins, of which there are more every day virtually in our particular environment. And there's a range of others which we will maybe refer to later on, such as your occupation, stress levels, your geographic location, etc.
Well, that's very exciting. For the benefit of our viewers, every single one of these 6 factors will indeed be dealt with in greater detail in future episodes. For now, I should like to draw on Professor Bhika and ask, Professor, our understanding of lifestyle factors, how does it compare with the understanding of Tib al-Nabawi's concepts and principles that underpin it? And more importantly, Professor, how do these lifestyle factors actually influence our health and our well-being?
Jazakallah, Farooq. In fact, the lifestyle factors that John has mentioned, and there's a slide which which the viewers can look at, you can see that very similar, according to Tib medicine, and of course Ibn Sina, one of the founders, and also from the book of S01, Medicine of the Prophet. You can see the similarity of air, environmental air, food and drink, body movement, emotions, waking, sleeping, and retention and elimination. So without a doubt, whatever was identified 1,000 years ago is as relevant as it is today. Right? Secondly, now what does this lifestyle factors have to do, or rather, what's the implication or the interpretation of those lifestyle factors in terms of health promotion? Now, a very simplistic approach of understanding this is that we know that the human body is at a temperature of approximately 37 degrees. So that's heat. Also, the human body contains approximately 70% water, which is moistness. So the overall temperament of the human being is hot and moist. Now, if you look at these two parameters, temperature of approximately 37 degrees, and of course in the moisture of approximately 70%. But these parameters are very, very tight. If a person's body temperature goes just a couple of degrees below 37, you freeze to death. And if your temperature goes from 37 to 41, 42, you end up with fits and you die. So life itself is controlled. Now, historically, technology today has uncovered a lot of the biochemical processes that happens. This technology was only prevalent today. Historically, for thousands of years, without the kind of technology that we have today, the Tib practitioners were able to gauge, monitor, evaluate, and understand the functioning of the human being within these two concepts of heat and moistness. There's a very beautiful extract which I've taken from Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah's translation, where it mentions health, stability, and the body state of equilibrium are regulated through moisture, which opposes the heat. Each of the two qualities upholds the other, and the body is upheld by them both. When one of them exceeds the other, the body becomes indisposed accordingly. So this gives you the idea that Tibb al-Nabawi, historically, they used to look at these two concepts, and this is one of the main concepts of Tibb medicine in terms of to establish harmony within the human system. You've got to have the balance.
So this concept of 37 degrees and 70% water is at the heart of maintaining balance, as it were.
Absolutely.
Well, this is becoming even more pertinent for me than what I had thought it was. It's a little bit more than just folklore. In fact, it has a very sound scientific basis. We'll be taking a short break now, but when we return, we'll be discussing the benefits of implementing Tibb lifestyle factors in health promotion and illness management. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. You're watching Medicine of the Prophet, your guide to healthy living. In this segment, we'll be looking at lifestyle factors and its impact on health and health promotion and health choices. To help us understand this better, I should like to draw on the wisdom of Professor Bhika and to ask Professor to unpack for us the whole question of how do we implement Tibb lifestyle choices, and what are the benefits for us?
I think in our previous episode we spoke about each person being unique in terms of temperament, and also in that same episode we highlighted that each person has a unique temperament and has got a unique qualitative state. Now, earlier on I mentioned this concept about the appropriate moistness and heat. Now, all of the lifestyle factors that we mentioned earlier, such as environmental air, breathing, food and diet, etc., all of them have got certain qualities associated with it. For example, the weather is either hot or cold. For example, food. Some foods have got a heating effect, such as ginger. Some foods have got a cooling effect. Exercise, if you exercise, you're automatically going to increase the heat levels. So each of the lifestyle factors has got certain implications towards increasing or decreasing qualities. So this matching of lifestyle factors to suit individual needs is paramount in the promotion of health. Is that okay?
Wonderful. Let me draw in Dr. John Glynn. And Dr. John Glynn, Prof. Bhika has been stressing that each factor has to be tailored to suit individuals. Can you describe the benefits of adopting a healthy lifestyle? I'm in special need of that.
Farouk, there's a large number of benefits. First of all, the patient is empowered. He decides on what type of lifestyle he's going to adopt. Secondly, it's personalized. It means that he can decide his type of things he's going to adopt. Thirdly, the quality of life is improved, generally, this has been shown. The chances of living longer are better. The chances of living, more importantly, healthier are better. If cost is a problem, lifestyle adjustment is very, very cost effective. No equipment, no trainers, no fancy diets, etc. It also delays, by adopting lifestyle as a way of life, then you delay the onset of chronic disorders. And if you have problems, you're more likely to recover from them. So there's a whole range of advantages, some of which I've just briefly touched upon, which certainly makes it worthwhile for every one of us to adopt.
Dr. John Glynn, I won't be unkind to you. You can perhaps tease this out a little bit later on. But for now, we do have a little clip that we'll roll for you. And this footage will, on this footage, Dr. Abdul Haq will share with us his ideas on lifestyle factors in the treatment of illnesses and their conditions.
Treatment of illnesses is based on two basic approaches. The first approach is symptomatic approach, and the other approach is causative approach. Symptomatic approach can suppress the illnesses, while the causative approach can cure the illnesses, and we can control the illnesses better with the causative approach. To follow this principle, which is the causative approach, Tib lifestyle factors are very important in the treatment of illnesses. And when we follow these principles and when we follow these factors, then on one side we can maintain the health in a better way, and on the other side we can treat and cure the illnesses. I want to explain this approach, which is causative approach, with some examples. Say one condition which is called phlegmatic asthma. Asthma is a cold and moist condition which is linked with the phlegm and can aggravate with the cold things, cold food and all cold environment. To treat and cure the asthma, it is very important to follow the hot food and the hot environment and to avoid the cold environment completely. So in that way we can recover in a better way and person can be free from the medication in the long run. Another example of breathing exercises and meditation, which is very important to recover the psychological problems. Another example is gout. Gout actually is caused by the excessive uric acid in the body, which is result from the red meat. So you have to avoid red meat for the complete cure of the excessive uric acid and the gout. For the treatment of syndrome X, which is the combination of three illnesses, high cholesterol, hypertension and diabetes, it is very important to follow the Tib lifestyle factors. If we do continuously regular exercise and avoid fried things, sugary things, refined things, and follow good kind of simple diet and follow some vegetable and fruit and whole grain diet, then we can control these conditions in a better way and we can cure these illnesses. So it is evident from these examples that for the poor management of TIB lifestyle factors cannot cure the illnesses, and the person can suffer all the time from the different diseases and illnesses. So TIB lifestyle factors is the root of the causative treatment and root of the good health as well. Lifestyle factors is a unique and versatile concept of TIB, and because it is based on the systems of the body. If we take the example of air and environment, which is actually linked with our respiratory system and cardiovascular system, food and drink with the digestive system, hepatic and metabolic system. Similar way, movement and rest is based on the musculoskeletal system. Sleep and emotion is based on the nervous system, and the elimination and retention is renal system, dermatological system, and the genital system. So in that way, this approach actually, these lifestyle factor and this approach actually covers the whole systems of the body.
Dr. Abdul Haq, focusing on lifestyle and choices on how we promote well-being and health. I should now like to just call on Dr. John Glynn to offer a few closing comments on our topic.
Well, I think as far as lifestyle is concerned, we've really got to go forward to the past. I think we've got to look at lifestyle changes as a real, significant, cost-effective way of dealing with a myriad of health problems, from obesity to diabetes, from resistant bacteria. We've got to look at these ways of dealing with it as a way forward for our society.
Wonderfully put. Professor Rashid Bhika, any closing comments, sir?
As mentioned previously, each one has got a unique temperament, and by the same token, each one needs to have a unique lifestyle to be in harmony with the temperament of the individual.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. To Dr. John Glynn, thank you, and to Professor Bhika, once again, thank you for your input. In summary then, what we focused on in this episode was that Tib al-Nabawi describes the interaction of the individual within the scope of the lifestyle factors, and that effective digestion and elimination of the lifestyle factors is essential to stay healthy and well. Now, the 6 main lifestyle factors will be discussed over the next 6 episodes as promised, and we will then unpack it in greater detail. This has been Medicine of the Prophet, your guide to healthy living. This is your host, Farooq Hussain, wishing you well from Johannesburg, and we hope to see you next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.